Welcome to the Upside Down Kingdom, Episode 6 of 15, Phase 1, Personal Idols, last episode, Comfort as Prison. Today, the weapon on the ground you refuse to pick up.
It really is. It's the one thing everyone, literally everyone, is trying to step over, walk around, pray away, or just medicate into silence.
Exactly. And before we get into the heavy stuff, let's do the quick recap. Episode 5 exposed comfort addiction, the thermostat Christian, adjusting obedience to stay safe. We talked about how we prioritize feeling good over being holy.
And today, we are flipping that coin. If comfort is the bribe the enemy uses to keep you docile, then suffering is the threat he uses to keep you in line.
And this is where I think a lot of us hit a hard wall, especially if you're, a learner, that high achiever optimization mindset. To us, suffering just feels like a failure of strategy. If I'm in pain, if things are breaking, it means I didn't plan well enough. It feels like a system error.
Right. You think, I optimize my life to avoid this very specific feeling. But in this kingdom, suffering is not a system error. It is offensive weaponry.
Offensive weaponry. Okay, I hear the words you're saying, but that is a massive claim. And honestly, it sounds a little crazy. It sounds counterintuitive to everything I know. But before we unpack that, I need to jump in with the Valley disclaimer.
Yes.
We're practitioners, not theologians. We're teaching from the Valley, about 2 months into intensive Bible study.
Exactly. We aren't shouting from a seminary ivory tower or some polished stage where everything's resolved and the lighting is perfect. These are patterns discovered in the mud of real-life breaking and rebuilding. We are looking at the text while bleeding, essentially.
Which honestly makes the text hit different. But let's go back to this weaponry idea, because my knee-jerk reaction, and I'm guessing the listener's reaction too, is, whoa, pump the brakes. This sounds like masochism. Why would I want to suffer? Isn't the whole goal of a good life, a blessed life, to minimize pain? That's just basic biology.
It is biology, and it is the human instinct. But there is a massive difference between masochism, which is loving pain for pain's sake, and technology.
Technology? You're calling suffering technology?
Yes. What is technology? It's using a mechanism to achieve a specific result. Suffering in the kingdom is a mechanism. It's a tool. And to understand it, we have to look at 1 Peter 4.1. This is the cornerstone for today.
I have it right here. Let's read it.
Therefore, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same mind. For he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin.
Okay, arm yourselves.
Yeah.
That sounds military, but usually when I think of armor, I think of protection from suffering. I put on armor so I don't get hurt. Peter seems to be saying the suffering is the armor.
It is entirely military. The Greek word there is hoplizō.
Hoplizō.
It's where we get the word hoplite, the heavily armored Greek infantry soldier.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Peter isn't telling you to just grit your teeth and endure suffering passively. He is telling you to pick it up and put it on like Kevlar. He's saying, equip yourself for battle.
So the metaphor here is the weapon on the ground. I've been looking at my hardships like they're trash on the sidewalk, something to step over. But Peter's saying, no, pick that up. That's your sword.
Precisely. And to understand why it's a weapon, you have to look at the logic. We talked last time about the binary algorithm. How does sin control human behavior? It uses 2 levers.
The carrot and the stick.
Exactly. The bribe, which is comfort, do this and you'll feel good. And the threat, which is pain, don't do this or you'll get hurt. That is the operating system of the world. That's how your boss controls you, how the culture controls you, how your own ego controls you.
Right. Keep your head down, don't make waves, or you'll lose your job. Compromise your ethics, or you'll lose that client. It's effective.
It's incredibly effective. But look at what Peter says. If a believer arms themselves with the willingness to suffer, if they have already mentally accepted that death to self is part of the deal, the threat of pain no longer works. You short-circuit the algorithm.
Because you can't threaten a dead man.
You become ungovernable. That's what the verse means when it says, he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. Doesn't mean you're suddenly sinlessly perfect and never make a mistake. It means sin loses its leverage. You cannot be bribed because you don't need comfort. And you cannot be threatened because you've already agreed to die.
That's terrifyingly freeing, but I can hear the defensive side of my brain kicking in hard right now. It's saying, okay, sure, be tough. But isn't avoiding pain just, I don't know, self-care? I mean, why do we have to go through the ringer? Can't God just zap us with character? Why the friction?
You want the download without the installation process.
I want the Matrix upgrade. Just plug it in. I know Kung Fu. I want the patience without the traffic jam. I want the courage without the danger.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
We call this sandpaper sanctification. There is absolutely no polish without friction. If you want to be smooth, you have to be abraded. And Paul lays out this unskippable chain for Romans 5:3-5.
And not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope.
Look at that sequence. It is linear and it is unskippable. You cannot hack the algorithm to jump from salvation straight to hope. You have to go through tribulation.
And we really want to automate the perseverance part, don't we?
Right.
We want the character of a veteran without ever seeing the war.
We do. We feel entitled to the result without the process. But Hebrews 12:11 hits this even harder. Read that one.
Okay. Now, no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it.
Trained by it. That's the key. The Greek word there is paideia.
Paideia.
It implies the training of a child or discipline. It's not trauma for trauma's sake. It's the gym.
The gym. Okay, unpack that. Because usually when I'm suffering, I don't feel like I'm on a treadmill. I feel like I'm in a car crash.
Think about it biologically. When you lift heavy weights, what are you physically doing to your muscles? You aren't building them in that moment.
No, you're tearing them. Micro tears.
Exactly. It is a destructive process.
Yeah.
You are ripping the fiber. If you avoid the tearing, you avoid the growth. The strength happens in the recovery, in the afterward that Hebrews talks about. But we treat spiritual tearing like it's abuse.
We think God is being mean, or we think he's angry at us.
Right. We cry out, Lord, why is this happening? When actually it's hypertrophy.
So I've been viewing my hardships as God abandoning me, or maybe me failing to optimize my life, but they were actually my workout.
They were the only way to get the result you actually say you want. You're asking for strength, and God is handing you a heavy weight. And you're saying, no, God, I asked for strength, not this heavy thing.
Man, that reframes the entire history of my bad days.
Yeah.
It makes me look back at the last 5 years and wonder how many workouts I skipped because I prayed for the weight to be removed.
And this connects to where we are in the season. We should zoom out for just a second. Phase 1, which we are in now, demolishes personal idols. Episodes 8-14 are going to attack systemic church idols, and episode 15 ends in rubble.
We are systematically stripping things away, and I have to be honest, I feel exposed here. I've never weaponized hardship. Not really. I usually just try to fix it or escape it or medicate it. I treat it like a mosquito bite, something to ignore or scratch.
That is the Western gospel error. We treat God like a vendor. We think his job is to facilitate a comfortable life for us. But look at Paul.
The ultimate example.
2 Corinthians 12:9. Paul has this thorn in the flesh. We don't know exactly what it was. Maybe eye trouble, malaria, persecution. But it was agonizing. He begs God to take it away. He's basically saying, God, optimize this out of my life so I can be more effective.
I could do so much more for you if I wasn't dealing with this.
Exactly. And God says no. God says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
We quote that on coffee mugs, but it's actually devastating to the ego.
It is. The Greek word for weakness there is asthenia. It means total weakness, feebleness, a lack of strength. It's not, I'm a little tired. It's, I am crushed.
Why does God want Paul crushed? That seems cruel. If he loves him, why crush him?
So that Paul would stop trusting in Paul. Paul was a high achiever. He had the resume, the pedigree, the intellect. God had to bring him to the end of his own resources so that he would tap into resurrection power.
It reminds me of the narrative we saw in the source material about Seth, the guy who went through the ringer.
The 3 breakings.
Yeah. Homelessness, the crypto loss, the AI collapse. I mean, that crypto story alone, watching a portfolio go to 0 in 30 seconds because of a hack.
Think about that moment. You are staring at a screen, and the number goes from freedom to 0. The instinct there is to say, what a tragedy, or what bad luck. But if you look at the pattern of Seth's life and the sources, it wasn't an accident. It was the removal of the alternative.
Removal of the alternative, that's a heavy phrase.
As long as Seth had the crypto millions, or the successful business, or the brilliant AI invention, he had a backup plan. He didn't need God to come through. He could fund his own rescue. God had to systematically delete every other option until the only choice left was surrender.
So the suffering was actually surgical? It wasn't random violence, it was removing the cancer of self-sufficiency.
Exactly.
Right.
And that is why we say suffering is a weapon. It destroys the illusion that you are in control. And once that illusion is gone, real power can enter.
It's weird, but I'm starting to see it. How I've been kicking the weapon aside. I see the hardship coming and I dodge. I pivot. I consult a consultant.
Most of us do.
Yeah.
But I want to show you the most extreme example of someone who didn't dodge. Someone who picked it up and went on the offensive. Because suffering isn't just about you getting stronger internally. It's about spiritual warfare.
Who are we talking about?
Stephen, Acts chapter 7. This is the first martyr of the church.
Okay, set the scene for us.
Stephen is being stoned to death. The religious leaders are furious. They are gnashing their teeth at him. It is a violent, chaotic execution. Stones are breaking his bones. And Stephen does something that breaks the algorithm.
What does he do?
Acts 7:60. Then he knelt down and cried out with a loud voice, "Lord, do not charge them with this sin." And when he had said this, he fell asleep.
He forgave them?
While they were killing him.
Wow.
He weaponized his own death. And think about who was watching. Saul, who later became Paul, was standing right there holding the codes.
Saul was the one operating on that binary algorithm we talked about. Power, violence, threat.
Right. Saul understands force. He understands, I kill you, you die, I win. But Stephen didn't play that game. Stephen looked at his murderers with the face of an angel and asked God to forgive them. That does not compute in Saul's system.
It's a glitch in the matrix.
It's a virus. Stephen's suffering was an offensive weapon that planted a seed of doubt in Saul. It broke the logic of violence. You could argue that without Stephen's death, and specifically the way he died, you don't get Paul.
So Stephen's suffering wasn't a tragedy. It was a strategic strike against the kingdom of darkness.
But disarmed the enemy. The enemy thought, I'll kill him and silence him. Instead, Stephen used the killing to demonstrate a love so radical, it eventually toppled the Roman Empire.
Man, that makes my complaints about traffic or a difficult boss feel pretty small. Actually, it makes them feel embarrassing.
It changes the scale, doesn't it?
It really does. So bringing this back to the listener, and to me, honestly, I have to ask, what hardship are you walking around right now? Because if this is true, if suffering is a weapon and a gym,
then we need a diagnostic tool.
What?
We need to know how to handle it when it hits.
Yeah.
And James gives us the final piece of the puzzle in James 1:2.
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials.
Stop there. Count.
Auto.
That is an accounting term. It's math. It's a cognitive decision, not an emotion. James isn't saying feel happy when your life falls apart. That would be psychosis.
Right. Yay, I lost my job. Woohoo. That's just denial.
No. He's saying calculate it as joy. Look at the balance sheet. You see a loss in the comfort column, red ink everywhere. But you need to look at the holiness column and calculate the gain. It's a mental shift.
So you don't feel the joy, you calculate the joy. You trust the math, even when the emotions are screaming.
Precisely. You stop asking, how do I escape this? And you start asking, what is God forging? You switch from a victim mindset to a trainee mindset.
That shift is everything. It takes the power away from the circumstance.
It arms you. And that's the whole point. The weapon is on the ground. It looks like a tragedy. It looks like a breakup. It looks like a bankruptcy. It looks like a diagnosis. But Peter says, pick it up. Arm yourself.
It's heavy.
It's very heavy. But it's the only thing that makes you dangerous to the enemy. A comfortable Christian is no threat to hell. A suffering, rejoicing Christian that terrifies the darkness.
Wow. I think I need to sit with that. I've been running from the very thing that could make me holy. I've been trying to outsource my own sanctification.
We all have. We all want the glory without the weight.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time. And as always, we want to leave you with a provocation, something to haunt you a little bit.
What hardship has God placed in front of you that you keep walking around? It looks like tragedy. The sources say it's a weapon. Stop praying for it to go away. Pick it up. Arm yourself. The friction you're running from is the only thing that can make you holy.
The friction you're running from is the only thing that can make you holy. Sit with that. Struggle with it. Next time, we're turning the heat up even higher. Episode 7, When Your Ego Becomes Your Calling. The Ananias Test. You do not want to miss it.